it's Linda here from yogamums.net. I thought I'd just go through a couple of exercises that can really help if you are suffering with pubic symphysis dysfunction or, heaven forbid, pubic symphysis diastasis. So this is a condition that many pregnant women experience. It is when the two halves of the pelvis have become slightly misaligned. It tends to happen because we have the relaxing going through our bodies so that the pelvis can open up when we give birth and the tailbone can lift, it can mutate. But because of the relaxin, and often because we haven't got strong enough muscles around the pelvis to keep the pelvis stable, the two sides of the pelvis can become slightly uneven through the sacrum at the back, and then what happens is we get this dysfunction, we get this kind of sliding effect at the front through the pubic symphysis, which is where the two sides of the pelvis meet at the pubic bone here, and that causes that really localized sharp pain. So a couple of things. We need to keep our thighs together so we don't do asymmetrical movement like when you're going upstairs, or if you're going to kick something, or if you're on all fours and you were to move one knee. That is really painful because we're literally making the pubic symphysis move apart more. So we just want to be very careful we keep the pelvis together. When I had pubic symphysis diastasis 8 years ago now, I used a belt. This is the belt I used. So you place it actually at the top of the thighs and across the pubic bone and across the sacrum, the bottom of the sacrum here, to create a real sense of stability rather than actually on your belly. So it needs to be wide enough, and you can use that, I think it's called Pubic grip, to create a bandage like this, and it needs to feel as if your thighs won't go more than hip width apart. And this can be, it just feels so secure, and it can also help your pelvic muscles around the pelvis, stabilizing muscles, to activate and just to hold the pelvis in place. A nice strengthening through the glute muscles, and we need the glutes to be nice and strong because they wrap around the sacrum, is to come onto a kneeling position and then use your gluteal muscle strength to glide you up like this and then down again. So I just turn sideways here so you can see what I'm doing. So as I come up, you squeeze the glutes, you lift up, and then you take yourself down again. So squeezing to lift, and then down, up, and then down. So you make sure you're not just using your quads and your knees, you're activating completely through these gluteal muscles, squeezing them, and then lifting and releasing down. And then I'm just going to show you some things that you can do to also strengthen the inner thigh muscles and the gluteal muscles that stabilize around the pelvis and also into the pelvic floor. So the pelvic floor muscles get activated doing this as well. Now when you're pregnant, you might not want to lie straight back onto your back. Depends how you're feeling, and your body always lets you know if Bubby is lying straight onto that vena cava returning vein, because you'll start to feel dizzy. So I sort of think, take this with a pinch of salt. If you want to lie on your back, lie on your back. I'm just going to prop myself here so that you can see this version as well. So what we want to do is take the feet just hip width apart, so it's a symmetrical movement, not very far apart at all. And I've got the band here still just to sort of remind me not to go too far. And then you press through the heels, so the toes are quite light. You press through the heels in order to activate the gluteal muscles to lift the pelvis up and down. Try doing it on an exhalation so that as we exhale, we get a natural slight vacuum through the pelvic floor. Great. So I'm going to take away some of these props. When you've got pubic symphysis dysfunction and you're turning over, you will need to squeeze your thighs together so that we don't create that misalignment, exaggerate that misalignment. So I'm just going to come down onto my back again, not quite so high up. So back, knees just hip width apart. You might need to loosen the belt a little bit. Press through the heels. This is your bridging to strengthen into the gluteal muscles. And then another one is to take the feet just a tiny bit further apart. So you might need to loosen the belt a bit. A tiny bit further apart. So a little bit wider than hip width apart. This time you press the heels into the ground, you lift the bottom up, and then you squeeze your knees and your thighs together. Try to do that on exhale, and that's going to help the pubic symphysis like squeeze together. Two sides of the pubic bone squeeze inwards, and we're getting this lift right up through the pelvic floor and into the support structure around the organs as well. So knees apart, roll back down again. Press through the heels, roll up, squeeze the knees together and the thighs together. Knees apart, roll back down. It's a really nice massage on the lower back and into the sacrum as well. So we press through the heels, we come up, we squeeze, knees apart, roll back down. And once you've got the hang of it, try to do a couple of pulses, like pulse, 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 knees together, knees apart, roll back down. Pressing through the heels, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze the knees, and roll back down. And then come down and just massage back and forward through the lower back onto the sacrum. So we want to exhale, inhale, exhale, slightly tuck, inhale, release, exhale, slightly tuck, inhale, release. So we're mobilizing the pelvis, but we're going back and forward as opposed to side to side. So that's a really nice thing to do. And once you've done quite a few of these glute strengthening, adductor strengthening pulse exercises, you actually want to be releasing into the inner thigh muscles. So squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. So I'm going to show you now. You will need to take off your bandage or your belt. So when we do asymmetrical opening of the legs, like a squat, that's okay because the pubic symphysis, that the thighs are opening, but we're not asymmetrically moving the pubic symphysis. So if we bring our knees in and then take just the knees apart, keep the toes together for this one, we're stretching the inner thigh muscles here, but it's not like we're doing anything asymmetrical. So gently take the knees apart. You can take your hands onto your ankles or onto your shins, and very gently using your forearms start to lengthen the inner thigh area. And you will know when you come to just a good stretch. And we want to do what I call 360 breathing. So 360 breathing is taking the breath all around the pelvis as if you've got a beach ball here, and you allow the lower belly to soften, you allow the breath to go into your pelvic floor area, into the inner thighs and into the glutes and into the lower back. So it's a soft jaw, soft shoulders, 360 breath here in this frog pose, and then coming into an upside down squat. So you might need to get a belt or a strap or a scarf to put around your feet, but the feet are just like you're in a normal squat, but they're up against the ceiling. Knees are coming down towards your armpits. And if you don't have a strap, just grab hold of your ankles. If you can reach, you might be able to take your fingers right to the inside of your feet and then just very gently draw your knees down. And once again, that's a stretch onto the inside. We need these muscles to be lengthened as well as strengthened. So it is akin to doing a squat like so. And this is actually okay when you've got pubic symphysis to come into a lower squat to get that adductor stretch. It's just when you're on your back, you don't have gravity as well, so it's a little bit easier to control. But getting this lengthening stretch through the inner thigh muscles here, when you're in symmetry, is actually not too bad at all. And same with doing full squats coming up to strengthen those thighs and those gluteal muscles. If you're going to be doing squats, and you're going to use those to strengthen into the glutes, I suggest you try to do the ones where you just have the feet hip width apart. Great to do with your stabilising belt around your thighs. And when you come down, you keep your bottom lifted, sitting bones lifted, knees must stay on top of ankles. You press your heels into the ground to come up, and this just lifts and strengthens those gluteals, which cross over your sacrum. So down and then coming up, down, coming up, down, coming up. Fantastic. So you want to be very mindful when you have got pubic symphysis that the important thing is to keep the stabilizing muscles strong, or if they've become weakened and atrophied, to strengthen them. And then to also do a gentle release through the inner thigh muscles.